Hi guys, I'm experimenting with a new setup today. I'm not about to start a cooking show, but I am in my kitchen, mostly because the light outside in the usual spot is very, very bright and very unbalanced, and I couldn't really find a good way to frame it, so I'm experimenting with this a little bit. So today I want to talk a little bit about motivation and how to take away artistic pressure. So in my stories, I got a lot of questions about how I shoot film and why I started shooting film again with my Like I'm Free. And the thing is, I don't actually shoot film so much for the look or because I think there's something unique about the medium. Although there definitely is, it is actually easier to achieve what I want to achieve using digital. The reason I shoot film is really because it is a different process, and because I think the process can sometimes be really beneficial for photographers um, in several ways. So the one you hear most is that film slows us down, and this is definitely true. With this camera I don't have a light meter. I really have to stop and measure the lights, look at the scene, frame it carefully, think about how the rangefinder is off from the actual perspective, and then take a picture. That's definitely very good, but it's also not the main reason. The main reason I shoot film is because while I really love the preview that I get from a digital camera, and especially from a mirrorless camera, like my main camera, the Leica SL, I love the amount of control and I love being able to see what's going to happen. I love being able to walk around in this dream world, and see everything changing depending on how I shift the focus and shift the aperture live. But sometimes when I feel a little bit demotivated and when I don't feel very secure about my own photography, it can be a bit too much. Especially if you're bored. For example, now with COVID, the situation being the same for a very long time, you get these moments where you realize that basically not enough is changing around you and not enough new interesting stuff is happening, and basically every time you lift the camera and try to frame a shot you think, that's already been done before, or that doesn't look very good. And this is a waste because that way you don't take pictures and you get demotivated and then you miss out on pictures that might actually be good because you assume that everything else is going to be crap as well because it's a couple of times you looked and it didn't look good. So with film I don't have that problem. I do not know how these pictures are going to turn out till I develop them. And the truth is that often, when I get the rollback, most of them aren't very good. But while I'm walking, I'm just looking, I'm thinking about how the picture's gonna look, how it might look, and I take the picture, and I get this excitement, like what is it gonna be like, and this really helps in keeping me shooting, even though I might not be at my best photographically, and sometimes a little happy accident happens and then suddenly I see something interesting, something that I think, oh whoa, here was actually a shot, and if I had been with my digital camera I might have skipped past it because I looked at it and at first glance it wasn't interesting. But with a film camera you just take your chances, you take the guess, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the more important thing is that you are shooting and you are thinking about taking pictures and you do feel motivated. So that's really the main reason why I shoot film. It is to give myself some breathing space, to allow for myself to take pictures without immediately being busy with the results, and especially not with the results beforehand. I am not walking around to produce, but I am walking around just to get in the process and the joy of taking pictures. And obviously this is not the most important thing. Ultimately you do want work that you want to show and you do want to produce valuable work, and to be honest, the amount of valuable work I produce on film is a lot less than digital, and it is more expensive to produce as well. So this is never going to replace my digital camera, but it is this kind of like safe space from artistic pressure and pressure to produce. So if you've never shot film, I can really encourage you to give it a try, just to kind of like wake yourself up and have this new impulse and this new joy of photography. Shooting film is not the only thing that works really well. One crazy thing that I do, and I think I once told about this on Instagram already, but I want to explain it a little bit further, is I go out without a camera or with an empty film camera or an empty digital camera without an SD card. Because what happens is that you are not busy with I'm gonna make pictures, because you can't. Instead, you are gonna have a camera with you to remind you of the act of photographing and the opportunity that photographing gives us to save a memory, to save a moment, to freeze time. And you won't be able to. And when you walk around with a camera, maybe nothing seems all that exciting sometimes, but when you walk with your camera but it is unusable, all of a sudden there are these things where you think, oh, I wish I could have taken a picture of that. I wish I could have taken that moment. Damn, why didn't I bring my SD cards? Damn, why didn't I put a roll of film in? And because of this, you are reminded about what you love about photography. You are reminded of the things you do want to capture. You are reminded of everything that makes the artistic struggle worth it. So this is, for me, almost even more efficient than the shooting film route, is to really just go out with an unusable camera and get frustrated at what you couldn't capture. Because, like I said, it's not just that it motivates you again to start shooting, but it also learns you about your motivations and why and what you want to shoot. And now all of a sudden you have these new insights into, you know, your own artistic vision and your own mind and why you do what you do. So I can really recommend that. And then there's another weird thing I do, which is to take pictures in a very different environment where you have less control, but are encountered more with beauty. And the way I do this is by watching movies very carefully and literally pausing and taking screenshots. Now, I realize that to you it might not feel like that's real photography or like you are really the artist creating something. And in a way that's true. Every frame is already made and composed by someone else. But what it does is it awakens you to kind of like the ideal scenario. You know, you have these gorgeous lights, you have these interesting, beautiful characters. But at the same time, you have very little control over what's going to happen. But you can look for what the significant moments are for you, and you can look at, you know, just the little different split seconds in emotions and expressions. And, you know, you won't really be taking photographs as you usually would, and therefore there's less pressure. But it's a really fun exercise and a really nice way for you to find out how to tell a story in a single frame instead of a moving frame. So it kind of awakens you to how can you capture an entire scene in one moment? How can you very subtly tell a different story by a slightly different angle, by a slightly different moment, by a slightly different time? And because of that, you kind of get this photographic practice in an ideal environment, which can be really useful and you know, a great learning experience, but it's also really good to get out of a rut and get some motivation. You know, if you're too tired, if you're too exhausted to even go out on the street or to even bother yourself, you're always, you know, in the mood and you always have the energy maybe still to watch a movie. And this way you can keep up with practicing and feel a little bit better about yourself and your photography just by staying home and watching a movie in a different way. So yeah, definitely give that a shot if you never have. Go watch your favorite movies with your favorite cinematography and try to pick like one still of every scene that you think is best. So that's it for today. Those are some ways to get new impressions and learn more about your photography and get some new motivation without changing scenery or traveling, which COVID limits now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have any interesting strategies to get out of a rut in photography. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend.